For part two, I'd like you to describe a time when someone asked for your opinion.
Okay.
You should say, who asked for your opinion, why he or she wanted to know your opinion, what opinion you gave, and explain how you felt when he or she asked for your opinion. You can start speaking now.
Okay, so I'd like to talk about a time when my younger brother, um, he asked for my advice about choosing his major for college. He was really torn between, computer science and business, and he wanted my perspective because I had already gone through the whole process of figuring out my university path.
Hmm.
And I think he trusted my judgment because I had that experience, with university life and career planning. So I told him that he should really think about, what he genuinely enjoys doing, what are his passions, and what his long-term career goals are. Where does he see himself in the future,
Makes sense.
right? And I also encouraged him to do some research into both fields, like really dig deep and talk to people who are actually working in those areas.
Yeah, I get a feel for.
Exactly, get a real-world perspective.
Yeah.
And, he was always really good at math and seemed pretty interested in technology, so I kind of suggested that computer science might be a good fit for him. And when he asked for my opinion, I felt, quite valued and appreciated.
Yeah.
It was nice to know that he respected my thoughts, and I was happy to help him with such a, big decision.
Absolutely.
Oh,
Now, moving on to part three, let's delve a bit deeper. What should a company do when receiving feedback about its products?
well, I think when a company receives feedback, especially about its products, it's crucial to really pay attention to it. Take it seriously.
Mm-hmm.
And if necessary, make changes and improvements based on that feedback. For example, let's say a lot of people are saying a particular product is difficult to use.
Right.
The company should definitely think about how to make it more user-friendly,
Yeah.
simplify things. And when a company demonstrates that they are listening to their customers' concerns, it shows they care.
It builds trust.
Exactly. And this can really help in building customer loyalty and that trust, which is so important. Companies should also aim to respond to feedback promptly and professionally, whether the feedback is positive or negative.
Absolutely. Maintain that good relationship.
Yes, keep that communication open.
Okay, interesting. What about teachers? Should teachers give advice to children?
Yes, absolutely. I believe teachers have a vital role, not just in academics, but also in a child's personal development.
Hmm.
They can offer valuable guidance to help students navigate different aspects of their lives.
Yeah. Like what?
Like, deciding what subjects to study, how to deal with friendships and relationships.
Oh, right. The social stuff, too.
Exactly. And even thinking about potential career paths for the future. For example, if a student is struggling with time management and organization for their studies, a teacher could suggest effective techniques for planning their work.
That's helpful.
Right. But it's important for teachers to ensure their advice is constructive and encouraging, without putting undue pressure on the student.
Absolutely. Guide them, not dictate.
Yeah.
Now, here's a thought-provoking question. Why do some people dislike giving their opinions?
I think it's often rooted in fear. People might be afraid of criticism, of being judged, of not being accepted or agreed with.
Maybe.
Right. They might worry that their ideas aren't good enough or that they'll be perceived negatively. Like imagine being in a work meeting and having an idea, but you hesitate to share it because you fear it might be rejected.
Yeah, I've been there.
Right. It can be intimidating. And for some, it's just a lack of confidence,
Hmm.
Maybe they believe their input won't matter, or they just want to avoid potential embarrassment by staying quiet.
Interesting. So, in today's digital age, are there any apps specifically designed for collecting opinions about products or services?
Oh, absolutely. There are so many apps out there that allow people to share their thoughts and experiences.
Like what?
Well, you have the popular ones like Google Reviews and Yelp, which are great for, sharing reviews and ratings about different businesses. And then you have platforms like SurveyMonkey, which are often used by companies to gather structured feedback from their customers. These apps are beneficial for both sides.
Oh, so?
Well, companies get valuable insights into what their customers think, what they like, what they don't like, and customers get to benefit from the experiences of others.
Yeah, informed decisions. Okay, last question for this part.
Hmm.
Why do people you know, why do they enjoy expressing their opinions so much on the internet these days?
It's such an interesting phenomenon, isn't it?
It is.
I think a big part of it is the ease and reach that the internet
Mhm.
provides. Social media platforms like Facebook and Twitter give people a platform to voice their thoughts and opinions on all sorts of topics.
Yeah, global reach.
Exactly, from products they've bought to current events to, global issues. It's all out there.
Right.
And I think there's also a sense of validation that comes with it.
Validation how?
Well, when people share their opinions and they get likes, comments, shares, it reinforces their views.
Yeah.
It makes them feel heard,
Yeah.
like their opinions matter.
Yeah, that interaction.
It is. It's that engagement.
Interesting. And on the flip side, what would you say are some of the disadvantages of sharing opinions online?
Well, one of the biggest downsides is the potential for negativity.
Mm-hmm.
People can be really harsh and judgmental online. You can get negative comments, even harassment for expressing your views. And sometimes, because it's written communication, it's easy for things to be misconstrued.
Right. Tone can be hard to convey.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So arguments can escalate quickly online, because you're missing those nonverbal cues like facial expressions and tone of voice.
Yeah, that context is lost.
Right. And another thing is the permanence of online content. Once something is out there, it's often there forever.
It can come back to haunt you.
It can. And that can have implications later on.
That's a good point. So that concludes the first part of our simulation with the Band 8 responses.
Okay. So you just heard a set of responses that were aimed at achieving a Band 8 score. Now, we're going to go through that same set of questions, but this time the responses will be crafted to target a Band 9.
Right, that top level.
Exactly. As you listen, I encourage you to really pay attention to the differences.
Yeah.
How are the ideas expressed? What vocabulary choices are being made? And what about the overall depth and complexity of the answers? Let's see what sets Band 9 apart.
Okay, so imagine yourself back in the exam room. For part 2, I'd like you to describe a time when someone asked for your opinion. You should say who asked for your opinion, why he or she wanted to know your opinion, what opinion you gave, and explain how you felt when he or she asked for your opinion. You can start speaking now.
I'd like to share an experience where a colleague of mine approached me, seeking my perspective on a potential career move. She was considering a transition from her current role to a more promising opportunity, but she had some reservations.
Understandably.
Right. Change can be daunting. She specifically sought my advice because I had recently gone through a similar professional transition myself, and she trusted my judgment.
Mm-hmm.
Her main objective was to get my honest opinion on whether making this move would be beneficial, and she also wanted insights on how to effectively evaluate her options. I advised her to carefully weigh the pros and cons of each position.
Right, like what?
Well, things like salary, of course, potential for growth and development, job satisfaction, and that ever-important work-life balance.
Yeah, all crucial factors.
Absolutely. And I also suggested that she have an open and honest conversation with her current employer. Maybe there were possibilities for improvement within her existing role that she hadn't considered.
That's a good point. Explore all avenues.
Exactly. And, when she asked for my opinion on such a significant matter, I felt truly honored that she valued my insights and trusted my perspective. She later shared that my advice had helped her gain clarity and boosted her confidence in making her decision, which was incredibly rewarding for me.
That's great to hear. Okay, moving on to part 3. Let's get into those more detailed questions. What should a company do when receiving feedback about its products?
Well, I think a company should have a systematic approach to analyzing customer feedback. Really dig into the comments and identify key areas for improvement.
A structured approach.
Yes, exactly. For instance, if customers consistently report issues with a product's durability, the company should reevaluate the materials used and the design. Proactively addressing feedback like this not only enhances customer satisfaction, but it also strengthens the company's brand reputation.
Right. Builds that trust.
Exactly. And companies should actively engage with their customers. Acknowledge the feedback, provide updates on what steps they're taking to address the concerns.
Transparency is key.
It is. It fosters that transparency
Oh.
and builds long-term trust with customers.
Okay, shifting gears a bit. What are your thoughts on teachers giving advice to children?
I believe teachers play a crucial role as mentors and role models for children. Their guidance extends far beyond just academics.
In what ways?
Well, they can help students set realistic goals, equip them with strategies for overcoming challenges, and nurture those essential life skills that will serve them well beyond the classroom.
Can you give some specific examples?
Sure. A teacher might counsel a student on managing exam stress or offer advice on navigating difficult social situations with peers. However, it's vital that teachers provide balanced and unbiased advice, empowering students to think critically and make their own informed decisions.
That's a great point. Encourage independent thought. Okay, now for a question about perspectives. Why do some people dislike giving their opinions?
It's fascinating how varied people's comfort levels are with expressing their opinions. Some people are hesitant to share their views due to fear of judgment or a lack of confidence in their own perspectives.
Mm-hmm.
They might prefer to avoid conflict altogether, especially if they anticipate their opinion being unpopular or controversial.
Mm-hmm.
For example, in a group setting, someone might hold back if they sense their viewpoint wouldn't be well received.
Their social dynamics.
Exactly. And sometimes it's simply a preference for privacy. Some people are just more introverted and prefer to keep their thoughts to themselves. In professional environments, reluctance to share opinions might stem from concerns about hierarchy or potential repercussions.
Right, that power dynamic can be tricky. Okay, back to the digital world. Are there any apps designed specifically for collecting opinions about products or services?
Oh, absolutely. There's a whole ecosystem of apps dedicated to gathering and sharing customer feedback. You have platforms like Trustpilot, Google Reviews, and Yelp, which allow users to rate businesses, write detailed reviews about their experiences, and share those insights with others.
Mm-hmm. And those are widely used.
They are.
Yeah.
And on a more professional level, companies often utilize sophisticated survey tools, like Qualtrics or Typeform.
Right, for more structured data.
Exactly. These tools allow for in-depth analysis of customer feedback, which can be incredibly valuable for shaping business strategies and improving customer satisfaction.
Okay, final question. Why do you think people are so drawn to expressing their opinions on the internet nowadays?
I think it reflects the power and influence of digital platforms in our lives. Social media has really transformed how we communicate and share our views. It's enabled global conversations on a scale never seen before.
Yeah, connecting the world.
It is. People can engage in discussions, share their experiences, and even contribute to shaping public opinion on a global level.
Mm-hmm. Powerful stuff.
It is. And I think there's an inherent sense of empowerment that comes with online expression.
Empowerment. How so?
Well, people can have a voice on matters that are important to them, whether it's reviewing a product they've used or participating in debates on current events. It gives them a platform to be heard.
Right, and that instant feedback loop.
Exactly. Likes, comments, shares, all of those contribute to this feeling of being heard and having your opinions validated.
Interesting. And what about the potential downsides to all of this online sharing? What are some of the disadvantages of expressing opinions on the internet?
Well, one major concern is the prevalence of cyberbullying. People can face harsh criticism, personal attacks, even harassment for expressing their views. It's a dark side of the online world.
Yeah, that anonymity can bring out the worst in some people.
It can. And sometimes, even without malicious intent, opinions can be taken out of context, misinterpreted, or even used against someone later on.
Right. Things can be easily twisted online.
They can. And the fact that digital content is often permanent, it's out there forever, means that even seemingly harmless remarks can resurface years down the line and have unintended consequences.
That's a good reminder.
It is. And we've also seen how online discussions can quickly devolve into heated arguments, lacking the nuance and understanding that often come with face-to-face interactions.
Right, those online debates can get pretty toxic.
They can, and that can hinder constructive dialogue and understanding.
That concludes the second part of our simulation, this time with responses aimed at a Band 9 level.
All right, so you've now had the opportunity to hear both Band 8 and Band 9 responses to the same set of questions. It's like having a front row seat to the IELTS speaking exam.
Right.
What were some of the key differences that stood out to you?
Well, one of the most noticeable differences is the level of vocabulary used. The Band 9 responses showcased a much wider range of vocabulary, using more sophisticated and nuanced language.
Yeah, it was more than just using big words. It felt like the Band 9 speaker was able to select the most precise and impactful words to convey their meaning.
Exactly. And the Band 9 responses also went into greater depth, providing more detailed explanations and justifications for their points.
Right, they weren't just giving surface-level answers. They were really delving into the why behind their opinions.
Exactly. And that depth of explanation demonstrates a stronger command of the topic and the ability to articulate complex ideas effectively.
Absolutely. And what about the flow of the responses? Did you notice a difference there?
Definitely. The Band 9 responses were generally more fluent and coherent, with a smoother flow and more sophisticated sentence structures.
Yeah, it felt like the ideas were more seamlessly connected, creating a more polished and sophisticated overall response.
Exactly. And that's something to keep in mind, whether you're aiming for a Band 8 or Band 9 on the IELTS. Paying attention to your vocabulary choice, your ability to explain your ideas thoroughly, and the fluency and coherence of your speech are all essential.
Absolutely. And it's important to remember that these principles apply far beyond the IELTS exam. Being able to express yourself clearly, using precise language, and supporting your opinions with well-reasoned explanations, these are valuable skills in any context.
Right, whether you're in a professional setting, having a casual conversation, or even just writing an email.
So true. So as we wrap up this deep dive into the IELTS speaking test, I want to leave you with this thought. Think about a time when you were trying to explain something complex to someone.
Mm-hmm.
What were the challenges you faced in making your ideas clear and impactful? And how might the elements we've explored today, things like vocabulary choice, depth of explanation, and connecting your thoughts smoothly, how might those help you communicate more effectively in the future? Thanks for joining us for this journey into the world of the IELTS speaking exam.
Thanks for listening, everyone.
We'll see you next time on The Deep Dive.